This is ABC 57 News at 5.
Officer down, officer down.
Clear, officer down.
Officer down. 2 words no officer ever wants to speak into a radio. 2 words that have folks across Michiana grieving this morning.
Broken hearts, we stand here today.
A sheriff's somber tone as he describes what caused 2 bailiffs to lose their lives when a gunman opened fire on the Berrien County Courthouse. Now we're learning new information about the shooter, and
Both of these officers were well respected by their peers.
more importantly, taking you inside the lives of the 2 heroes who lost their lives protecting you and your family. Folks are already leaving mementos on a sheriff's car this morning. We have a lot of new information to get to this morning regarding this Berrien County Courthouse shooting. Good morning, Michiana. I'm Emily Evans. My co-anchor, Drew Gardner, joins us live from a makeshift memorial near where the shooting took place. Drew, describe the scene out there this morning.
Well, good morning, Emily. It is going to be a difficult day here at the Berrien County Sheriff's Office. Many of these deputies going to be going back on duty for the first time since yesterday's deadly shooting. As we heard Sheriff Paul Bailey saying, our hearts are torn apart. The sheriff was friends with the 2 men who were shot and killed here, both veterans of local law enforcement here for several decades. So you can imagine just how difficult it is going to be for many of these people here to return to work for the first time. Again, we want to mention the courthouse is closed today, so it will not be business as usual there. Let's get back to those victims, though. We learned the names last night. They are Ron Kinzel, 63 years old. He worked as the Berrien County Trial Court since 2005. Prior to that, he worked for the Benton Township Police Department. The other victim, Joe Zangaro, he was 61 years old. He was the head of courthouse security since 2004. He was retired from Michigan State Police. Both gentlemen putting in several decades of law enforcement experience here in this part of Michigan. Now let's look at those survivors. The deputy who was walking the inmate into court on the 3rd floor that was shot first, James Atterbury. He is 41 years old. He has been working as a deputy since 1998. Then there was one civilian who was caught in the crossfire, Kenya Ellis. She is of Benton Harbor. Both of the injured are in stable condition this morning. So that is the good news that we do have to report here this morning. Now we have team coverage. We've had several reporters here on the ground since this news broke yesterday afternoon. Our Brandon Pope, Evan Siri, and Emily Kinzer all covering different angles of this story. But we begin with the very latest on this investigation from our Evan Siri. Evan, good morning.
Drew, good morning. It was a very chaotic and tragic scene on the 3rd floor of the Berrien County Courthouse behind me after an inmate, 44-year-old Larry Gordon, was able to disarm an officer. Monday afternoon, gunshots rang out on the 3rd floor of the Berrien County Courthouse. As he was being escorted to a courtroom, Gordon was able to wrestle a gun away from an officer. What happened next ended the lives of 2 courthouse employees.
After he exchanged gunfire or shot the deputy and then shot and killed the 2 bailiffs, he went into the court area and took several hostage for a short period of time until he tried to leave through another door, and that's when the other 2 bailiffs confronted him, and that's when he was shot and killed.
And according to Sheriff Bailey, all signs point to a jailbreak attempt by Gordon. Now, what is under investigation and under question right now is how was Gordon able to disarm that weapon from the deputy during that fight on the way to the courtroom? Reporting live in Berrien County this morning, Evan Siri, ABC 57 News.
All right, Evan, thanks a lot. Now, if you've never been to this part of St. Joseph or just not familiar with the area, we are standing in front of the Berrien County Sheriff's Office. This is just on the block next to the courthouse. Now, I'm going to step out here and show you this memorial that had already been set up for the fallen officers in Dallas. Obviously, this has been a tense time for law enforcement across the country with last week's 2 shootings and then the deadly shootings of 5 officers in Dallas. This memorial went up, now taking on new meaning here this morning. We've already seen a few flowers added to that memorial. No doubt that is going to continue to grow as we go throughout the morning here, and people start to wake up and really process what exactly has happened here at the Berrien County Courthouse yesterday afternoon. Now I want to go to this Facebook photo. It's just one of the many tributes that we've been seeing coming out, showing the support of local law enforcement who have really had a tough 24 hours here since yesterday's shooting. It's going to be a difficult few days and weeks ahead as we continue to process what exactly happened here and we learn more about the investigation. But we've already seen several vigils that have been happening and tributes just since yesterday. Our Brandon Pope's been covering that part of the story. We go now live to him. Brandon, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Drew. I'm here in neighboring town, Benton Harbor, really right next to St. Joseph. So they really are feeling the effects as well. Actually, two of their own affected in this tragedy. And as all of us felt when we were watching the news coverage here on ABC 57 News, shock, dismay, disbelief that, this violence and something so tragic could happen here at home and so close to where we live. People had to depend on whatever they could, and so a lot of that is faith. So prayer warriors really were out in full force here in Benton Harbor trying to send love and light to the grieving families this morning, standing together at Brotherhood of All Nations Church and really putting power behind that name. As you know, and as Drew mentioned earlier, 2 court officers shot and killed. Joe Zangara was a chief of security and Ron Kienzle was a bailiff. 2 others shot, a civilian, Kenya Ellis, from right here in Benton Harbor, and a deputy, we're told Bishop James E. Atterbury's son, James Atterbury Jr., was that deputy shot. So it really hitting this church community especially hard. His uncle describes what it was like when that chaos was unfolding.
Devastating. It's terrible. I mean, the stuff that's been going on, not only here, but all over this country is just saddening. And as a minister, I've been crying out to God for peace in our country, and not only in this country, but all over the world. And then this thing hit home.
You can only imagine how he and other family members were feeling as they were getting the calls they never expect to get about a family member being in the hospital, and for some in the community having lost a very dear family member. So the community here trying to spread a message of unity and come together. The hashtag St. Joe Strong floating around on social media now from really all around the country, not just Michiana and the state of Michigan. So lots of support here as people are trying to send their light and love to those grieving here locally. Drew, back to you.
All right, Brandon, thanks a lot. And for those of you that work in the downtown St. Joseph area, we want to let you know the streets are back open. Several of them were blocked off yesterday. It was hard to get around. Police were not letting people anywhere near this area. That is not the case now. The streets are all back open. But what will not be open, again, we want to remind you, is the Berrien County Courthouse is going to remain closed today as they continue the investigation into yesterday's shooting. So what normally would be start to be picking up here within the next hour is likely going to remain very quiet here throughout this morning.
It's still very early, but what is the feeling like there out near the scene?
Well, as you can imagine, at this time of the morning, it's normally quiet. So that's not any different. I think later on in the morning, you're going to start to notice when the courthouse would begin to be bustling with people arriving from work. That's when we're going to start to notice things. And as more of the sheriff's deputies come back on the job for the first time since yesterday, we've seen a couple go back and forth during a shift change. Obviously, there's a somber look on their face. They lost 2 of their co-workers here and 2 veterans of law enforcement for several decades in this area. So a big loss is being felt, and likely we're going to start to feel that more as the morning goes on. Emily?
Absolutely. Thank you, Drew. We'll check back in with you again shortly. It's 5:09. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this. And we continue to follow breaking news out of Berrien County. A deadly shooting at the courthouse that killed 2 bailiffs and injured a sheriff's deputy, along with a courthouse worker. My co-anchor, Drew Gardner, joins us now. Drew?
Well, good morning, Emily. Things slowly getting back to normal here in St. Joseph, as normally as they can be after an event like yesterday. The streets are back open. They were roped off for several hours yesterday afternoon and evening while the investigation was getting underway. The police tape is down, as well as the barricades. Courthouse, though, remaining closed. It all got underway at 2:30 yesterday afternoon. That is when a sheriff's deputy was walking an inmate to a courtroom on the 3rd floor. Some kind of struggle ensued, and that inmate got a hold of the deputy's gun, shot him, then went into a nearby courtroom and shot and killed those 2 bailiffs, as well as shooting and injuring another civilian. Now, Sheriff Paul Bailey has been addressing the circumstances surrounding those moments when that inmate, Larry Gordon, got a hold of that deputy's gun and just why that inmate was not handcuffed. He addressed this during a press conference last night. Let's take a listen to what the sheriff had to say.
Well, he was being escorted into the courtroom. There was, we had no information that he was going to be violent, and not everybody that goes into the courtroom is handcuffed.
Now, again, that was Sheriff Paul Bailey addressing the process of bringing those inmates into the courtroom and whether or not they should be handcuffed. No doubt something that is going to be looked at and reviewed closely following yesterday's shooting. Now, we have been gathering more information about that suspect, Larry Gordon. 44 years old, was here in the courts facing several felony charges. We've been working to gather more information about him overnight. We go now live to our Emily Kinzer with that part of the story. Emily?
Good morning, Drew. Well, there's never any surefire way to know what exactly makes someone snap. And in an interview with Gordon's ex-wife, she says what could have caused the shooting was fear of him never seeing her or his kids again. It all happened at about 2:15 yesterday afternoon inside the Berrien County Courthouse. This man, Larry Darnell Gordon, was being escorted to a court hearing by one of the courthouse officers. That's when he grabbed the officer's gun and started firing. His ex-wife heard about the shooting on Facebook and had a gut feeling it could be her ex-husband.
My heart sank and I thought, oh my gosh, please don't be Larry.
Now, this whole situation is still under investigation, and we're working to learn more about him and his family life. We do know that Larry has been divorced since February of this year. That's according to Heavy.com. But at this time, we don't exactly know why they got divorced. I'm live in St. Joe this morning. Emily Kinzer, ABC 57 News.
All right, Emily, thank you again. We're back out here in front of the Berrien County Sheriff's Office, where many people are going to be coming back to work for the first time since yesterday's shooting. The courthouse, though, going to be remained closed. We've been showing you the memorial behind me that was set up for the Dallas officers, slowly starting to grow and turn more into a memorial for what happened here yesterday. No doubt we're going to be seeing more people coming by throughout the morning as this community wakes up to this news and begins to process the events that took place inside the courthouse yesterday. For more reaction from the community, we go back to the studio now with Emily. Emily?
Thank you, Drew. People across Michiana are showing support for the victims of that courthouse shooting. Some are using the hashtag #StJoeStrong. On the Silver Beach Carousel Facebook page, there's a picture of a carousel horse with a blue ribbon that says, "To serve and protect." Those are bagpipes being played at the Midland County Fairgrounds in Michigan. 9 and 10 Fox News 32 is reporting people gathered at the county fairgrounds to honor the victims killed in Berrien County and for the officers killed in Dallas. There were also several speakers at the event. Clare County Sheriff's Deputy Kevin Sherwood's daughter was one of the speakers. Sherwood was killed 13 years ago while on duty.